What is up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and over the weekend I made a video talking about how I wanted to introduce a series on this channel where I break down businesses and I break down business plans, and I was going to title that series Business Plan Breakdown or Business Breakdown. Now I want to start off that series today with this video, and I want to talk about Dan Blizerian. Now for those of you who don't know who Dan Blizerian is, he is a famous Instagram influencer, and he's been in the news a lot lately because his company Ignite lost $50 million in a single calendar year. Now, Dan lives an incredibly luxurious life. He touts really nice vacations, really nice houses, and yet his company lost $50 million in 1 year. So in this video, I want to break down who Dan Blizerian is, where he got his money, where he came from. I want to talk about his company Ignite, and I want to break down their finances to talk about just how it's possible for somebody to lose $50 million in a single calendar year. So let's get started. So how we're going to break down this video is I'm going to break down who Dan Blizerian is and why he's famous, and then I'm going to talk about his company Ignite. Then we're going to dig into his finances, and then we're going to talk about why his finances are problematic and the pending lawsuit that's going on as well. Now let's first dive into who Dan Blizerian is. Now Dan Blizerian is known for kind of three separate things. Number one is he's known for his wealth and the way that he supposedly made that wealth, and he claims as though he made his wealth through playing poker. Now, according to Celebrity Net Worth, and I know that this source is kind of sketchy at best, but according to Celebrity Net Worth, he has a net worth of roughly $200 million. And if you were to talk to Dan about that, he would probably say that the majority of that, at least at the start of his career, was obtained through poker. Now, there has been a lot of, I would say, speculation of whether or not that's true. His father was incredibly wealthy, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he actually obtained his wealth through a trust fund that he got through his father. Now, I'm not going to get into that and whether or not that's true or false, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest that he did not make his money through poker. He instead made it through a trust fund. Now, additionally, Dan Blizerian is sort of known for the fact that he had claimed at one time, and he may still claim, that he honorably discharged from the Navy SEALs program. And that just simply isn't true. There's a lot of evidence to suggest, and that proves the fact that he was not honorably discharged. In fact, he was just kicked out of basic training. So he was never in active duty. He just went through basic training and then was ultimately kicked out of the program altogether. So to claim that you were honorably discharged whenever in actuality you were just kicked out of basic training, I think that we can all agree that that's a little controversial to say the least. So those are kind of the three main things I would say Dan is known for: his large Instagram and social media presence, his wealth, and the fact that he claims that that is from poker, and the fact that he was a honorably discharged Navy SEAL, which is simply untrue. So now that we talked about Dan Blizerian, let's talk about his company Ignite and what exactly it is. Now, it is a cannabis related company. It sells nicotine related products, CBD related products, beverage related, which I would assume has CBD or some sort of cannabis infused in it, and also THC related products as well. So if we head on over to the investor relations portion of the website, there's a few interesting tidbits here. Number one is that this company was founded in 2017, and it was initially founded on the name Ignite Cannabis Company, and then that eventually became Ignite International Brands. And that's because of the fact that Ignite Cannabis Company then kind of spearheaded into different subsidiary companies that I'm sure distributed across different countries in the world. Now, a few things that I want to point out here. Number one is that if you scroll down to the competitive advantage and social impact, you will see that it says Dan Blizerian has 43 million social media followers, and you'll see here it says a combined 43 million social audience following paired together with best-in-class engagement. So it says that these products and these brands and the CEO, Dan Blizerian, has a combined 43 million social media followers, but then you can see that 43 million of that 43 million came from Dan himself. So I thought that that was sort of funny. But then the other thing I want to point out is that in Dan Blizerian's bio here, you can also see that it states that he was honorably discharged from the Navy after serving 4 years and being honorably discharged from the Navy, which again has proven to be untrue. You scroll down and it talks about the executive team and kind of their roles in the company. None of this is relevant to this video. But the other thing I wanted to point out is the fact that if you scroll down all the way to the contact form, you'll see this subheading section. And this was almost without a doubt a template from WordPress, and this was like the heading that was there and they were supposed to edit that out and put like contact form or put something there or just erase it altogether. So the fact that they left the subheading title in here I think is a little funny, especially considering the fact that they're trying to brand this website as a highly successful, highly profitable company, and yet they didn't have somebody double check their website to make sure that the subheadings were erased. So now we know who Dan Blizerian is, we know what Ignite Brands is and roughly what they do, but now let's talk about why their finances are such a mess. And to start the discussion, I want to talk about the stock market and how this company is publicly traded, because the fact that this company is publicly traded is kind of the catalyst to why all this information was released in the first place. Now, this company started trading in January 24th, 2019 in the Canadian Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol BILZF. And you can see here that starting of January 24th, 2019, it's just kind of been a steady decline. It's of course had some ups and downs, but for the most part, it has been declining for this just under 2-year time period. And as we sit here today, it is trading at 29 cents per share, which is obviously not good for investors. But the reason why the fact that this company was traded on the stock exchange and why this was the catalyst to why this information was released in the first place is the fact that the SEC requires for companies that are publicly traded to release financial statements. And that's why a lot of this financial information that we're talking about today was released into the public. In fact, I downloaded the financial report from Ignite and from Dan Blizerian, and it was pretty interesting, some of the stuff that it had. So you can see here the Ignite International Brands Ltd consolidated financial statement, and this is in the year ending of December 31st, 2019. So essentially for last year. Now, this is a 52-page document, and in this document, there's a lot of financial information regarding the Ignite International Brands Ltd, but I'm really going to be concentrating on the notes to the consolidated financial statements. If you guys are interested in checking out the other financial documents within this document, I will include a link to this download in the description below. And you can see here that when we look at it, there is a slew of information, and this is for the year of 2019. But right here, you can see in 2019, the company did $9,661,083 in sales. But keep in mind that this is in Canadian dollars because of the fact that it's being reported for the Canadian Stock Exchange. And once the cost of goods were taken into account, which was $7.5 million or just over $7.5 million, they had $2,137,337 left over in gross profit. Again, this is in Canadian dollars, which means that this comes out to just about $1.6 million in USD. Now, the next line is where it gets extremely dicey, and this is where you take into account the operating expenses. And in 2019, they had a total operating expenses of $45,792,818. That brings the total net loss from operations to $43,655,481. You can also see that there's the lines of interest income and interest expense, which of course was higher than interest income, as well as other non-operating expenses, which totals out to $23,932,897. They also have a section for other revenue, which I'm curious as to what exactly that is, and that totals out to $184,585. All of this together brings a total net loss of $69,029,058. Now again, keep in mind that's Canadian, so that comes out to $52,338,951. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about from this financial statement is the fact that Dan Blizerian's company, at least the US subsidiary of the company, received PPP loans, which is Paycheck Protection Loans. And as you guys know, these are the loans that were issued through the CARES Act that were meant to go to small businesses who needed funds in order to keep their business afloat and to keep their staff on payroll. And it says here on Section D of financing, it says on April 28th, Ignite US received a loan in the amount of $1,079,687 from the Small Business Administration as a result of its application to the Paycheck Protection Program. If we go down to the next paragraph, it says that on May 20th, 2020, a different subsidiary received $65,786 from the SBA, and on May 28th, an additional PPP loan of $30,111 was received from the SBA. It does state that the company has kept all employees subsequent to the receipt of the PPP loan, and they intend to apply for forgiveness. Now, whether or not they would, qualify for forgiveness, I don't know. I don't know whether or not they actually kept their employees on payroll or not. The fact that Dan Blizerian and his company even qualified for the PPP, knowing that they were blowing through millions of dollars per year, I just think it's absolutely crazy. Now, granted, the government didn't necessarily know that they were blowing through money at that time, but they sure did. And so that is problematic in itself, in my opinion. Now, in this point in the video, you may be asking yourself, Aubrey, why is this problematic? I mean, companies lose money all the time. There are millions of different examples of companies in Silicon Valley and even throughout the United States and throughout the world that have lost $50 million in a year. And I would tend to agree with that this is inherently not a problematic thing, but the problematic thing is wherever you start learning about where those operational expenses are being spent. And that brings us to the next section of this video, which is the current lawsuit that Dan Blizerian is seeing due to the fact that he was spending so frivolously with company dollars. The former president of Ignite, Curtis Heffernan, filed a lawsuit in the summer of 2020 and going into the fall of 2020 against Dan Blizerian, claiming that a lot of the expenses coming from Ignite and a lot of the things that the company was spending money on, a lot of the losses, was actually coming from funding Dan Blizerian's lifestyle. Now, to give you guys some context on this, let's look at a few of the things that Dan Blizerian spends his money on. This is the house that up until recently Dan Blizerian lived in. The address is 10979 Shalon Road. I may be mispronouncing that. It's in LA. The fact it has its own website is showing enough of how just crazy of a house it is. Now, the thing is that Dan Blizerian actually rented this house. He did not own it, and he paid roughly $200,000 per month to rent this property, allegedly of which came from the Ignite brand, and that Ignite was actually paying for that monthly lease. Additionally, the whole reason why the finances of Ignite started to come under a microscope is the fact that the accountants that were in charge of filing this financial report that we talked about earlier, they had cited that they found over $800,000 worth of presumably personal expenses in the financial report being categorized as miscellaneous operational expenses. There are a slew of other alleged charges that come along with this, paid travel expenses, and also paying for the rotation of cast of models that permanently accompany Blizerian. There is a number of things that Dan Blizerian is spending with company money that is definitely considered personal expenses. I mean, the fact is you can't buy an $88,000 vault with company money, especially whenever that company is publicly traded. You can't use company money to buy yourself models, to give yourself this appearance of what you're wanting to appear as. You can't do any of the things that he's talking about doing with company money, especially whenever the company involves investors and is publicly traded. And recently I stumbled upon him on TikTok where he posted this banger of a video. It's surely a classic guy driving a jet ski in his pool. Now, the fact is that whether or not you're a Dan Blizerian fan or not, you can't ignore the fact that what he allegedly has done with company money is wrong and it's illegal. And it will be interesting to see how it plays out over the next few months and really over the next few years. I don't think that this is the end of this issue. I think it is purely just the beginning. If I was to predict of what I think could happen to Dan and his company, number one, I think Ignite will file for bankruptcy and will cease to exist in the next few years. I think that Dan will end up losing a slew of lawsuits. I don't think that this is the first lawsuit to come. I think there will be more to come, and I think he will ultimately have to settle and pay out for those. And number three, I wouldn't be surprised if either the SEC or the SBA in the government comes after Dan Blizerian, because the fact is that you cannot spend funds from a company in the way in which he allegedly has done so, especially if that company is publicly traded. And the fact that Dan and his company accepted PPP or Paycheck Protection Program loans adds complexity to the entire issue as well. But with that being said, you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on this video. I know that this is kind of a new layout for this channel, and I would like to start continuing to do these types of videos. And so I would love to hear your thoughts, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.